Hey everyone, this is Captain Chris here with a brief tutorial on how to join your VPS with SSH. Alright, so first off you're going to need to download some applications here. First you're going to need to download Putty for using it to connect to your server and actually typing commands. And then you're going to need to download a file manager like Filezilla or WinSCP that can use SSH to manage files, because we're not going to install an FTP server on your VPS. It's easier to just do it with SSH anyway. So to start, we're going to download Putty. I'm going to have a link at the bottom of this video. Once you download it, you're going to open it up. You're going to get this here. It's going to ask for your IP address and your port. Most always your port is going to be 22. Check the email that you should have got from your hosting provider, or ask your hosting provider. It should list the port in the email, or they'll tell you the port. Mine is 22. Now, enter your IP address here. My IP address is on a local network, so it's not going to look anything like yours at all. So once you enter in your IP address, have port 22, select SSH. You can save this session, so I'm going to save it as local box _ There we go. Alright, I'm going to save it, and now every time when I open up Putty, I can just click local box, and it should open. So let's just open it up here. It's going to ask for a login. Now, usually when you're first time, it'll come up with what looks to be an error message, but it's just telling you about the key that it got. Just hit OK. There's nothing big. It's just warning you that this server's key is brand new. We don't have it in our files. Do you want to accept it? And yes, you do. Then you're going to get to a screen like this. Now, this is where you log in as your user. So I highly recommend not doing this, but you can log in as root, and you're going to enter your password in here, and you're not going to be able to see what you type. It's a security measure. And what I would do is I would create a user, because logging into root is very unsafe and not recommended. Even though some companies give you root access, which is good because you need it for things, it's better to create a different account to log into than sudo to root. And that's what we would all do, and I'll show a tutorial on how to do that later. Now that you're in on SSH, you can run commands, change your directory to, say, the / directory, or cd to root, whatever you want to do. Now I'm going to show you a file manager. So this is going to be WinSCP. I've used this for a long time, a really long time. And this, in my opinion, is one of the better editors, because FileZilla is more for FTP in my mind than SSH, and this is a lot better, just because you can edit files with this with its own little file editor instead of actually opening up a client-side program like Notepad++, which is great. So first step was hit new. Host name. Our host name is our IP, so let's just type that in. Boop, boop. Yep, like that. Our username was root. Like I said, create a different user when you can. And our password, super secret password, of course. And our protocol is SFTP, and that's shell FTP. So that's SSH and FTP combined. So we could save that, and we're going to save this as local _ box, and save password. I'm not going to do that for security measures. You can if you'd like. Alright, and boom. Alright, now this is that message I told you to get on Putty, and I'm getting it now. And it's just telling me that the RSA key is this. Do you trust the host? Because we don't have an RSA key like this. And yes, it's the best thing to do. And that's going to ask for my password one more time. And here I am on my server's files. Now, when editing a file, say, let's see here, let's go to my desktop, let's go to my actual Minecraft server that's running currently, which, by the way, I'll give a tutorial on how to set up MCMyAdmin and run it from a virtual private server. So let's open up one of my plugins, say Essentials. Open up the config file. Alright, I'm going to make a change to this file. I'm going to add a simple little extra comment mark there, and I'm going to save it. Now, WinSCP will prompt you for the password every time you make a file change for the first time on that session. So now I could do the same thing. I could add another comment marker and save, and it won't prompt me again because I already typed in my password. Just a little thing to be aware of. So that's WinSCP. Now let's go back to the good old FileZilla. Now everyone I know uses FileZilla. I prefer WinSCP. To log in FileZilla, it's the same thing. Host is your IP, of course, and username, root, and your password, super secret password, of course. Oop, I messed my password up. And our port is 22, like we did with Putty. Now we can click connect, and we are now in our file directory. There we are, and I believe it does not require a login like WinSCP does for managing when you change a file or upload a file for the first time, per se. Here, let's just try it now. Hello essentials, hello, let's see, view edit. And this is what I'm talking about. Every time I do that, it'll open up Notepad++, and I prefer it just have a built-in editor. And save. Okay, that's going to ask me if I want to replace it. Yes. And so it didn't prompt me. So there you go. That's how you log in to your virtual private server, or VPS, from your computer. Make sure you like and subscribe this video. I'll have more tutorials coming out on how to set up MySQL, MTMyAdmin, a whole Minecraft setup. I'll also show you how to create a new user as well, for security reasons, of course, because logging in as root is very bad. If you get that, someone gets that root password, they can destroy your server. Got to be very careful with that. Yeah, and also look forward to this. I'm going to be giving a whole tutorial series on how to take an old computer and turn it into a Linux box from scratch. Yep, that'll be coming up soon. Make sure you subscribe to check that out. Alright, thanks guys.